Hey guys, so I want to tell you about my thoracic outlet syndrome. Thoracic outlet syndrome is when there's not enough space between your first rib, which is up in this area, mine was removed on the left side, and your collarbone. So when there's a lack of space between there are things within there that can kind of get pressed on. Some of those are nerves, um, arteries, veins, and in my case, even my thoracic duct that carries my lymphatic fluid got compressed. So my thoracic outlet syndrome began when I jammed my arm into my bicycle in October 2022. I'm sorry, October 2020. And within the first, it was actually 3 hours after I jammed my arm into my bicycle that I had a loss of feeling in my hand and swelling in my wrist. And nobody was really able to figure out why or what was going on. First, they thought I was having carpal tunnel issues. Then they thought it was osteoarthritis, but I kept saying no. I fell into my bike and something's been wrong ever since that day. But nobody ever checked my first rib. My first rib actually wasn't checked for over 3 years. And when a physical therapist finally checked it, they said it wasn't moving properly. And that's when the pieces kind of started coming together for me that my first rib needed to come out. When they actually did take my first rib out, they found that it was stuck together with muscles and nerves by scar tissue, so they had to separate all of that. My rib didn't come out until February 2025, and within a month of my accident where I jammed my arm into my bicycle, I had pain from the side of my neck all the way down my arm, all the way to my hand. And I had sensation changes in my arm, and I had loss of feeling in my hand. And till this day, nobody has said, jamming your arm into your bike is definitely what caused this. But my symptoms began that day. And when they removed my rib was on top of my brachial plexus. And the brachial plexus is a bundle of nerves that comes from the spine and goes down the arm. And it can mimic symptoms sometimes like carpal tunnel, and sometimes on an EMG test, which they use for carpal tunnel, you might see issues, but it actually can be because something is compressing the brachial plexus. And that's what it was in my case. So, of course, when they took my rib out, my arm symptoms improved, my hand symptoms improved. But because it took so long to figure out that my rib needed to come out, my thoracic duct, which carries lymphatic fluid, got compressed. And 2 months after they removed the rib, the fluid finally started trying to move, and I was able to figure out that I had lymphedema and a lymphatic disorder. I also had Eagle syndrome through this process. I developed a large bump on the back of my neck. I had to have three surgeries, one for the Eagle syndrome, one for the thoracic outlet syndrome to remove my first rib, which was over here, and then one to balloon open my thoracic duct that got compressed by my first rib. Imaging did show the thoracic duct blockage, but that imaging wasn't ordered for over 4 years after symptoms began because I had to figure out what was wrong in order to figure out what imaging was needed. As far as the Eagle syndrome goes, that was in imaging, but it was missed and not reported, which I'll explain more about in another video. And as far as the thoracic outlet syndrome goes with my rib, maybe that could have been seen in imaging earlier on, I don't know. But nobody looked at my rib for 4 years in imaging. So by the time it was like definite that my rib needed to come out, they didn't decide that through imaging. They decided it through a clinical evaluation where they had me move different ways. And just to be sure, because you don't want to lose your rib, I sought 3 separate opinions: one at Johns Hopkins, one at Temple, and one at Jefferson Hospital. Temple and Jefferson are in Philly, and Johns Hopkins is in Maryland and in Baltimore. And all 3 said the same thing: your rib needs to come out. It was the greatest thing I've done. I'm better than I've been in 4 years with my 3 surgeries, but I'm still not well. I still have blockage issues with my lymphatic system. I still have a ton of pain over here and a ton of issues. And if you're wondering what can cause there to be a lack of space between your first rib and your collarbone causing this compression, different things can cause it. In some cases, it could be a trauma. I believe that's what happened with me, but it can also be from repetitive motions. It could be from muscular issues in that area. It could be from a growth in that area, but that would likely show in imaging. So there are different things that can cause it, but it's often missed. and it might not show in imaging, and you might need a clinical evaluation. The only people that know how to do a clinical evaluation for thoracic outlet syndrome are thoracic outlet syndrome specialists, not general thoracic surgeons, not general vascular surgeons, thoracic outlet syndrome specialist. I hope this helps somebody. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and stay tuned for more videos about my Eagle syndrome, my thoracic obstruction, and my recovery. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.